This is the Less Insurance Dependence podcast show with my good friend Gary Takas and myself, Narain Arul Raja.
We appreciate your listenership, your time, and most of all, we appreciate your intention to reduce insurance dependence in your practice. Our goal is to provide information that will help you successfully reduce insurance dependence and convert your practice into a thriving and profitable dental practice that provides you with personal, professional, and financial satisfaction.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Less Insurance Dependence podcast, the official podcast of the Reducing Insurance Dependence Academy, www.rid.academy. Membership to the Academy is a gift from Gary and I in appreciation for your listenership. Visit rid.academy and don't forget to register. By registering, you will have access to all of our resources and a free pass to all of our events, including our famous annual summit. I am Narain, your co-host. Today's podcast is titled, How Are Insurance Companies Responding to Practices Going Out of Network? But before I jump into the topic, I have a quick announcement to make. Thriving Dentist Live Workshop is going to be happening in Austin, Texas. That's going to be the very first one we are doing in a few years on the 1st of February, 9 to 5 p.m. Eastern. So that's a Saturday, 8 hours of CE. And the link is thrivingdentist.com/Austin. This is a event where Gary will be sharing with you a blueprint. And one of the primary things Gary is focusing on, how do you build a thriving practice that helps you create effective work-life balance? We have been talking to lots of practices over the year, and that seems to be the number one issue for at least in the minds of many practices. And also they want a blueprint. They want a blueprint for success. So you would get both from this event.
Yeah, think of it as drinking from a fire hose on all things related to a thriving practice and also achieving an effective work-life harmony or work-life balance. If you think that those are mutually exclusive, in other words, you can only have one but not the other, you can either have work-life balance or you can have a thriving practice. I'd like to politely suggest that you can actually have both of those. And if you're curious about it, come to our workshop in Austin on February 1st, and you'll find out about that they're not mutually exclusive and that you can take that information and apply it and start to solve what I think is one of the biggest crises in among dentists today, which is that work-life harmony or that work-life balance. Lots of cool information. You'll be able to go back and apply it immediately. 8 hours of content. You'll have colleagues in the room that have the same kind of mindset that you have, coming from all over the country. Great opportunity to network with like-minded people, as well as really get some powerful content that can make a massive difference in how you feel about your career. Come join us.
Thank you so much, Gary. Let's jump into today's topic. How are insurance companies responding to practices going out of network? And it's like I've been watching a horror movie because I've been in dentistry for 17 years. And since the day I started, I've yet to meet somebody that tells me that insurance companies are treating me better today than they did last year or the year before. Usually it's like it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. It's almost like these insurance companies have no idea about what's happening in the outside world. Your expenses are up 50% pre-COVID, right? Especially wages and so forth. But are your premiums up? I mean, not the premiums. Is what the insurance company pays you up? Not really. So I asked Gary, given that these are things they're not going to put it on a document and send a press release and all of us know how they are responding to people, dropping out of PPO plans. I asked Gary, hey, you work with lots of practices. What is the insider scoop? What is something that, that we don't read about or see about from the PR machine of these insurance companies? What are they really doing? Because it is a real issue for them, but how are they responding to it? Gary, take it away.
Well, I'm at an interesting seat of the table because I get to see it. We've helped over 400 practices in all 50 states successfully resign from PPO plans. And I get to see, the byproduct of all that. And let me start by saying, so the question is, how are insurance companies responding, with dentists going out of network? Let me tell you how I would like to see them respond. I
How
would,
you would think they would respond, right?
yeah, how I would like them to respond, how I would hope that they would respond. I would hope that they would think, well, wait a minute, we have three different constituencies here as an insurance company. We've got to appeal to the dentists that are providing the care. Without you, we don't have anything. Yeah, I'm talking in the voice of the insurance company. I need to be of value to the dentists because without you, we don't have policies to sell. I also need to appeal to the employers that are buying the policies, because if they don't buy the policies, we don't have a business. And then I also need to appeal to the patients, the ones receiving the care, because ultimately the internal policies that we make have to do with what kind of coverage they're going to have under the policy. And I'd like to think that they were fair-minded and come up with some kind of a model that would allow them to meet the needs of all three groups. And let's realize that all three groups have different goals. The dentist wants to get reimbursed as much as possible. Fair.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm making it very simplistic,
Yeah.
right?
Not as much as possible, but fairly, right? Just get paid
And
fairly.
ideally, they'd like to get reimbursed more,
Right.
for sure. Patients would like to get more benefits. They'd like to have more things covered under their insurance. That's the patient perspective. And then what's the employer's perspective? They want the lowest possible premium. So when the employer wants the lowest possible premium, that's in direct opposition to paying the dentist more, or to paying the patient benefit, which would be having more benefits. So if you try to step back and look at this objectively, you'd like to think there's going to be some balance between the three of those. But in reality, it doesn't go like that at all.
Right.
Because the insurance company isn't saying, oh my goodness, costs are through the roof in this inflationary cycle we're in right now, especially wage inflation, that, doctor, we understand your plight. We're going to raise the reimbursement fees to help you with this runaway inflation. But instead, what are they doing? They're cutting fees. It's actually going down. Their reimbursement back to you is being lowered. And that's happening time and time again. Or they're coming up with restrictive policies, like the idea of having another, in some plans, they have two classes of PPO plans that they're in. They'll have what's called the PPO plan, which is the lower fee. And then they'll have another one that they'll call something, with a creative name, like it's a better version of the plan, Premier. Delta calls that Premier. And then some of the plans are coming up with a third option that would say, we'll give you a better fee if you'll join our exclusive plan. Now, what does exclusive mean, Naren? It means it in the sense that you and I know it.
Yeah, it means like you can't sign up for anything else.
You can only be in our PPO plan. If you're in our PPO plan, you can't be involved with anything else.
Yeah.
And so the responses that they're doing do not really meet the business challenges that you're facing.
Yeah, I mean, it feels to me like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Gary, it's like there are, like you said, three constituents, and the right thing to do is to take care of all of three of them, right? As opposed to pander to one and just abuse the other two. It feels like they pander to one and abuse the other two, meaning the patients and the doctors. Almost like in their mind, you are a necessary evil, Mr. Doctor. You are a commodity for me, so I'm going to treat you like that. I mean, I might just give some lip service, or like you said, make you sign exclusive contracts, or try to block you in, or do something. But outside of that, I'm not really going to take care of you. Same thing. By the way,
patients. there was a time, if I reflect back, there was a time in the 1990s at WDS, Washington Dental Service. Washington Dental Service is the company that oversees Delta Dental of Washington. And WDS had a CEO who was a dentist. And he did an excellent job. He invited me a long time ago. He said, Gary, I know you don't like a lot of things that the insurance companies do, but I like to think we're doing some progressive things. The next time you visit Seattle, I'd love to meet with you and share with you some of the things we're doing. And I'm thinking, I'm a fair-minded guy, you bet. And the next time I was up there, I met with him, spent half a day in one of their operations centers in Seattle. And he said to me, he said, Gary, I've got 3 groups that I need to keep happy. I need to keep the dentist happy because ultimately I are one of those. I am one of those, and I want to keep the dentist happy. Now he was no longer practicing dentistry in his role as the CEO of WDS. But he said, I understand the dentist challenge because I was one. I also have to appeal to patients because ultimately we want plans that patients feel are having those benefits covered fairly. And ultimately, I also have to appeal to the employers who are buying the plans. And he did a brilliant job of that juggling act, that balancing act, balancing the needs of the 3 different groups until the next administration came in and threw it all out the window and decided they were about one thing: profit, making more money, a nonprofit being about profit. Imagine that.
Yeah.
And then it all changed. So what I wish they were doing really isn't at all what's happening. What's happening is they're squeezing you further.
So let me ask you this, Gary. So like it's pretty obvious, just like in the last 50 years, they're not going to change their mind. They're going to keep squeezing you further. What would you recommend a dentist do? Like, how do you think dentists should see this, see what's going on, and hopefully,
Well,
fend
let's
for
talk about
themselves?
why. Why do the insurance companies behave the way they do? Why do they do that? And that's because at the core level, they truly think they don't need you. I
Right.
don't need you, doctor, because we got
Or is
plenty
it
of
is
other
it more
doctors
like they think,
right behind you. We've got so many doctors right behind you that'll sign up for our plan that we don't need you, right?
right?
Uh,
Oh, is it that they think they can like fool? I don't want to use the word fool, but like
no,
trick
they
or
can
fool.
bully. They
Yeah,
can
bully.
bully.
Yeah.
Think about it, back it up, and think about it at a core level. Who needs who? Does the insurance company need you, doctor? Or doctor, do you need the insurance company? If you can step back and look at this objectively, who
Yeah.
needs who needs who? I have a strong belief system and experience that the insurance company needs you.
Yeah,
If
because
they
without
don't
them,
have
they
you,
have nothing to sell.
if they have no providers,
Yeah.
they cannot sell policies. In fact, even if they have a minimal number of providers, they're
They
not
can't
able to
sell
sell
policy.
policies. They have to have enough coverage as mandated by their state insurance commission. They need you. But instead, they've tricked you into thinking you need them. You
Mm-hmm.
need them. And that's why they act the way they do, because they can. They don't need. However, there is a shift happening. Let me explain that shift. The question was, how are insurance companies responding to dentists going out of network?
Yeah.
I see it 2 answers. One is they're not doing anything to meet your needs. They're lowering fees. The other possibility, and I'm seeing it happen more and more now, certainly not universally, but I'm seeing it happen more and more, is that in some cases, after you resign, more and more insurance companies are reaching back out to you and courting you. They're saying, Dr. Naren, you've been a wonderful member of our organization, of our provider network for many, many years. And we saw that you are resigning. We'd like to keep you. Would you consider staying if we could offer you a higher fee schedule? So they're responding back in some cases, not universally, but in some cases, more insurance companies are saying, wait a minute, before you go, if we could bump your fees a little bit, would you consider staying?
Yeah.
Now, be careful with that. And this tends to happen in markets where they need more providers, where they're on a vulnerable point where they need you. If you're in a large city, I don't think you're going to get that response because
Mm-hmm.
they don't need you. They don't need you. They have plenty of other providers that'll fill your spot. Just remember, to them, dentistry is a commodity. A dentist, practice, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We just need a dentist with a DDS or DMD after the name. That's all we need. But I am seeing in more cases them coming back with a negotiated fee schedule after you resign. After you resign. Now, don't bank on that. Don't bluff and resign hoping you're going to get that, because it may be that you don't get that at all. And what we see is variable. In some cases, I'm actually seeing on the positive side a much more workable fee schedule. A much more workable. A client of ours recently did this, and the insurance company reached back It was a 45% discount when they were in network, and they came back with an across the fee schedule increase to an 18% discount instead
Oh,
of
that's pretty
45.
good.
In other cases, they're coming back and they're throwing you an extra $1 for hygiene.
Right.
So what? Or
Sure.
they're being tricky about it and they're raising fees only on low utilization services, on services you don't do very much. So they're
Mm,
giving you an increase, but only on the fees that are not part of your treatment mix in your practice.
right.
So be careful about that. But I am seeing in some cases some favorable result. But it took resigning from them to get that, because in
Right.
every case we tried to reach out ahead of time and negotiate, and they said no. But then they came back. Wait a minute. Before you go, would you consider staying? So those are the two results that I see. That's how they're responding when dentists are going out of network. But maybe as we wrap up today, one thing that might be important for our listeners to know is there's a groundswell movement, kind of grassroots. It's not mainstream, but there's a grassroots movement of dentists individually, through no collusion or no collaboration, just independently saying, I've had enough. I've had enough. I can't continue to provide care when I'm not being paid enough to even
Yeah, I
cover
mean,
the
if you think about
expenses.
it, the only thing they're doing is send you new patients, and even that's not real because most patients are not going to the directory, they're going to Google. So why are we giving up so much money for this company that keeps abusing you, right?
Yeah,
Doesn't make any sense.
yeah. So keep that, think about it, and think about where you sit with this, um, and what choices you have. Um, and if you're curious, do you have the kind of practice that can successfully resign from PPO plans? The truth is, not every practice can do it.
Right.
If your practice is a commodity practice that's the same as the corporate office down the street, then think twice about resigning. But if you'd like to find out, there's an easy way for you to do that, a no risk way. Uh, Set up a coaching strategy meeting with me. Go to thrivingdentist.com/CSM. That'll open up my calendar. Schedule a meeting with me. I'll get to learn some things about your practice, and I can share my perspective on whether this makes sense or not. And love the opportunity to do that if that was something that's of interest to you. So go to thrivingdentist.com/CSM, stands for coaching strategy meeting. But give some thought to how you want your future. Your past doesn't have to be your future. Your past was maybe you were dependent on them, but it doesn't have to be your future. Well, on that note, I want to thank all of our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for joining us on the Less Insurance Dependence podcast. And Aaron and I look forward to connecting with you on the next Less Insurance Dependence podcast.